Hello my friends, and a warm welcome to you who joined me for this series of Christmas tags. And of course I went a bit overboard, but that's just how I am. My idea centers around snowflakes. I have Timholtz retro snowflakes, Colorado Craft Company's mandala snowflakes, and Simon Says stamped prismatic snowflakes. And I intend to pair each snowflake set with something from the same brand. But in this video we are working with Timholtz retro snowflakes. To give myself plenty of real estate, I decide to cut oversized tags from chipboard, just the kind of chipboard that you will find at the end of your watercolor paper pad. Next, I bring in a pack of Timholtz Christmas backdrops. I love these papers. And like on Halloween, I bought myself my first Christmas paper pads this year. These papers inspire me just from flipping through them. So many ideas tumble through my mind, and I finally managed to pick one of them. I'm using Dina Wakley's gel medium, and I brush a thick layer on the chipboard tag and on the back side of the paper and glue the backdrop on top of the tag and seal with a layer of gel medium on top. I want to emboss on this smaller tag I cut from Distress Craft heavy stock, but embossing on craft paper isn't like embossing on other cardstock because it's untreated and thirsty. So to make sure I get beautiful embossing, I seal the craft tag with a thin layer of clear gesso. That will give my embossing some tooth to grab onto, but prevent the embossing to sink in to the tag. I place the retro snowflakes on my now dry tag and bring out Wow's rich gold superfine embossing powder. I stamp the snowflakes with Versamark sticky embossing ink and cover with that gold embossing powder before I melt the gold powder with my heat tool. To me, these gold snowflakes are gorgeous, and off camera I use Distress ink in Vintage Photo to go around the edges, fading it out towards the center, and Versafine clear pinecone ink to darken that frame even more. And I do the same on the tag with peeled red paint on wood. I use Versafine Onyx black ink to darken the edges and between the wood planks. I am going to pair the retro snowflakes with none other than the Snarky Cat's Christmas from Timholtz, and I choose 2 cats and stamp them in Versafine Onyx black ink. I am also using a pack of baseboard windows from Timholtz. They are so useful, and I choose one of the smaller windows. To make the window more brown and less shiny, I paint the window with dark brown acrylic paint. I let it dry and paint over with Distress white picket fence paint, before I use a baby wipe to wipe off most of the white paint. Still off camera, I glued a piece of acetate behind the window to look like glass. And finally, I use my Faber-Castell big brush pen to add some black around the frame, smudging it with my finger until I'm happy with the window. Another Christmas paper pack purchase is this pack of Worn Wallpaper Christmas. I loved the Worn Wallpaper Halloween, and that goes for this Christmas pack as well. And after overthinking my choice, I made my mind up and cut a square as big as my window. So I want a red frame around my tag and hide the backside, so I cut a slightly larger tag from red cardstock and bring out my big bite punch to make a hole. The big bite comes in handy later for an eyelet, but for now I'm gluing my tag onto the bigger red tag. I'm scoring the smaller craft tag to make a hinge and fold it along the score lines. Then I bring out my big bite punch and an eyelet. I put double-sided tape on the top part of the craft tag and add glue before I attach it. Then I put in the eyelet and attach all my tags with that one eyelet and the big bite. The big bite comes from We're Memory Keepers and was a present for my birthday. I can reach far, punch a hole and attach an eyelet easily. I'm using my Sig markers to color the snarky cats. They, by design, have a lot of shadows in them, so I just use 4 shades of cool grays for his body and 3 shades of red for his Santa hat. For this little daredevil with a decisive look on his face, I use the same cool grays and 4 green markers for his scarf. This cute little birdie is from the same set, and I use 1 green marker for the leaves, red for the berries and his tummy, and 2 cool grays for the rest of him. I need a hill for my daredevil cat to go down, so I cut one from white cardstock and bring out my distress inks to add some color to the snowy hill. I decide to use distress ink in salvage patina and use a small brush to add that light aqua blue to the edge of the hill. Next, I want to add some frosty, snowy feeling to the window, so I bring out glossy accents which can give a domed effect, but also act as a glue that dries clear and shiny. I also have Distress Rock Candy Glitter and Stamperia Arctic Flakes. I add the glossy accents where I think there would be snow and ice on the window, and pour rock candy glitter over the glossy accents. I do that in a few places, and then I go over a few more places with glossy accents and add the Arctic flakes to it. It can look kinda white and milky now, but it will dry clear and frosty. As I drink my coffee, I feel I need some inky backgrounds to die cut Christmas greenery from. So naturally I go to ink smooshing to get that variation in color and texture. I bring out all my green distress inks plus distress oxide ink in evergreen bow. I smoosh the first ink on my mat, spray with water and smoosh my paper into the ink. I always dry in between inks so they will layer on each other. And I go through all my green inks for this big piece of scrap cardstock. Off camera I do the same procedure but with different red inks for some Christmas berries. So, I bring out my die cutting machine, my green and red ink smooshed panels and 2 die set. One is Holiday Greens Mini and the other with pine trees. I start die cutting the pine trees from the green ink smooshed panel, then the holiday greens, followed by some red berries from the red panel. Next, I use some vintage photo distress ink to age the piece of worn wallpaper, and then I glue the cat looking out the window and finally the piece of worn wallpaper behind it. I put some foam tape behind my snowy hill and glue it in place. Then I glue my cat in a window onto my tag. I put foam tape behind my speed-crazy cat and glue him racing down the hill. And then we move on to some Christmas greenery, starting with a few of those pine trees at the end of the hill. Next, I cut my holiday greens into pieces and glue them coming out from behind the window, one green piece at a time. I still have a few green pieces to glue onto my tag, but I start mixing in those red berries randomly around the window. Next, I'm using a technique that Timholtz has shown in many videos, and it starts with this set of bold Christmas greetings, a piece of black cardstock, and distress frosted crystal embossing powder. I place the holiday greeting on my black cardstock and treat the cardstock with an anti-static powder tool. Then I stamp a couple of times with white pigment ink, cover with frosted crystal powder and melt carefully with my heat tool. Frosted crystal has a lower melting point, so be swift with your heat tool and you will be left with a matte textured greeting. Next, I have some white chalk crayons, and because of the frosted crystal, it will have something to hold on to as I gently rub the chalk over the embossed words. Then I dust off the excess with a soft brush. This is such a neat and fun technique. I glue down the black panel with my chalk greeting onto the red wood plank tag, and I also glue down one of the little birds in the left corner. I glue my second little bird onto the window and a third one on those little pine trees. I want one more greeting saying, "Despite the look on my face, I'm still of good cheer, and I bring out some red cardstock and Wow's gold superfine embossing powder. I stamp in embossing ink and heat emboss the greeting with that gold powder. I glue down my red and gold sentiment strip at the end of the snowy hill. I haven't been much of a bling kind of crafter, but I have these red pearls from Studio Katia, and I glue the smaller pearls onto the berries around the window and also on the leaf and berries that my little birdies carry, even the little bird next to the chalk greeting. I have some ribbon and twine and I thread it through the hole in the tag. And now this oversized Timholtz Christmas mixed media tag is finished. But this is a series, so there will be at least 2 more to come if you fancy spending some time with me in the future. Until the next tag, happy Christmas crafting!